So, a clear definition of what I am doing, what I'm actually doing, even though no one will understand it, because they've never done it. So, it's hard to draw from movement that you've never done before. You can see it, you can visualize it, you can possibly like have read about it in a book, but it doesn't mean much. So, uh, what I'm literally just trying to do. Everyone talks about the teacup ride. It doesn't make any sense to me because everything that they talk about versus what they're actually doing, it's not the same thing at all. And so if I'm thinking of a teacup ride, I'm thinking of pushing in one direction and pulling in the other direction with my hands. And so uh, nobody does that. It's just like put the foot down at the catch and you're good, and don't use your upper body, but use your upper body, and it doesn't make any sense. Like it's just all you see is just people just wailing and wailing and wailing and wailing. So my definition is from the ground up, from the feet to the hips to the waist. I think the waist is probably the most important part because everybody will go through these arbitrary motions, as in like that at the catch. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Instead of softening up, that's why I like it. Like Shuai Jiao is such a definitive parallel to any throwing application, because the rule set is I need to throw somebody else without leaving my feet. It's not judo, it's not freestyle, it's not anything like that where I can sacrifice. I'm not going to throw the hammer and sacrifice myself. I have to throw the hammer and then stay at a standstill or stay on my feet. So I would just say like the beginning portions of it is do the teacup thing with your feet, and this is a question with multiple answers. This is where creativity comes into play, which I don't think people are really good at all. And so if I have like in Shuai Jiao, we'll practice a square step. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my square. So I'll take, and these are all entries to throws. So I'll take a step here, I'll take a back step here. My orientation is still forward because I'm coiling through my waist while still being relaxed, because I can't be tight and get into this position. And then from here, I'll turn. And so from here and here, people can fuck with it. People can figure out like what allows the turning to happen. So you can reduce it down to only your feet. So if I'm doing this, I can put pressure that way, I can put pressure that way, and I can turn. Or I can put pressure that way with my right foot and pressure that way with my left foot. I can turn. Like no matter what, there is I don't want to say there's a wrong answer, but it gives people room to go ahead and explore. And it's just, but then after that, once you figure that out or whatever it is, then you stop thinking about it and then you go and turn. But then you have that to deal with. So what happens if you get into a position where what's going to be most effective when I have something that's I need to influence in my upper body along with my lower body. What's going to be the best idea as far as being able to maneuver that implement in that teacup fashion or whatever it is, that turning. So I have to, can I apply pressure that way with my right and left foot and use the ball in order to get into position? Try that. You know, I haven't found success with that, just because as soon as I think of that, it's going to pull me off of the left side, and on top of that, that's going to turn into that, and so I haven't had any success with that. And honestly, I don't think that is the way I would want to do it, just because that's going in the opposite direction, counterintuitive to what we want. So I'm going to think about rotating in a direction. So I'm going to be bringing my right foot this way, bringing my left foot that way, and it's going to be static. They're going to be static holds. And so I'm going to hold this position here, and I'm going to have my orientation here, imagining that I have the ball, and I'm going to use the implement, use the ball in order to get into right here. Because I know I'm in good position. Use the ball, and I know I'm in good position because everybody talks about sprinting out left, knees to the sector, and this and that, and it just doesn't make any sense. Because if you're doing more than one thing, or if you're trying to make transitions, like pushing or supporting, and then all of a sudden I have to go here, and then I have to go right to the sector and stuff. And it's just too slow. It's not gonna be as optimal for me. I don't really care if it is helpful for anybody else. So I would rather, if I'm thinking sprint, I'm thinking hamstrings. If I'm thinking sprint, I'm thinking hamstrings. That's just it. I don't care what anyone says, like, oh, it's quad dominant and this and that. I don't care. Like, that sprinting is a predominantly hamstring oriented movement. It's a posterior chain movement. And so if I'm here and I'm thinking here, I'm thinking sprint already. I'm thinking I'm sprinting already. But I'm holding this position. I'm using the ball, and now I'm in position to throw the ball and or sprint in that direction. But it's not just thinking sprint. It's thinking about throwing. And so that's where these exercises come into play. Because I'm not just thinking about, oh, okay, I'm just going to keep going that way because then I'm just going to go that way. I'm going to give into the ball. So once I get past the part where everybody's most concerned with, this is a freaking catch, then I have to worry about getting to the point in which I put my heel down. And so I'm going to use the ball, boom. Heel comes down. I'm going to soften. I'm going to use the heel and use the my right foot. I'm going to bring this motion together. So, and then I'm back right there. So that's all that I'm looking for. So it's a softening of the waist. It is a softening of the hips, because if I'm just here and I'm tall, then I'm going to go down. So I'm thinking about dropping my waist or dropping my hips, and then I still have this active. So I need to soften from here to here, be active from my feet and my upper extremities, and that doesn't mean hold it up. It doesn't mean anything like that. It just means, and it really doesn't matter how fast you. Of course, it doesn't matter how fast you go. Everybody talks about that. Everybody talks about that. But you can stay on double support as long as you want, and still nothing happens. It's what you do when you're in double support that makes all the difference. I mean, somebody can move as fast as Koji. I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, in community college or in university, we see it all the time. People can move as fast as Davidovsky. They can move as fast. I mean, maybe not Sergei Lipnov, but they can manufacture that speed. But it doesn't mean shit, right? I mean, they're still only going to throw 55, 65 meters or whatever. And so it's what they do within when they are here, and even more importantly, I would say in single support than anything else. Because, I mean, whatever, free ball or whatever it is. But when to throw and when to relax is always the deal. But I would say the softening here is something that's so underrated. Everybody wants to be tight, and I mean, I don't. You want to be tight in a particular area. You don't want to be tight and then be stiff the entire time. It's like that's not how you throw people. And I always say that because with an orientation that I can't throw a human being like that. And so if I can't throw a person like that, why the fuck do I care about throwing a hammer like that? I'm going to be relaxed here. I want to be relaxed here as much as I can. It's the same thing with sprinting. I'm not going to sprint like a stiff. I mean, that's just the whole thing, is that I want to be as relaxed as I possibly can in my middle. And if people have back problems or whatever it is, because they don't take care of themselves. So anyway, the throw is, what I'm doing is there. The throw is there. The throw